Okay, you better be grateful that I turned off the AC for you. It is 95 degrees out. So turning off the AC so you can hear me clearly. Anyway, last night I finished 100%ing, which is not that hard, 100%ing Bowser's Fury. And that means at this point I have pretty much beaten the whole trilogy, unofficial trilogy of sorts of games that is Super Mario 3D Land, Super Mario 3D World, and Bowser's Fury. Um, and I guess I just wanted to give my overall thoughts on the trilogy and sort of like a little comparison because I did a video about how much I ended up adoring Super Mario 3D Land, and I was originally going to do a video that was just Super Mario 3D Land versus World, which I'm going to talk about here, but I thought I might as well, since I played all of Bowser's Fury before I recorded that, might as well throw that in there too and get my thoughts on all three down. Yeah, I've been on like a big Mario kick this year. I don't know what it is. I like finally played through all of Odyssey for the first time. I've been playing slowly but surely, getting through Thousand Year Door remake on Switch, and I finished this trilogy of games as well. I don't know. I've just been catching up on like all the Mario games that I like missed, I guess. But yeah. So I guess I just wanted to start by. I guess I'll start by comparing 3D Land, 3D World. If you want my overall, more comprehensive thoughts on 3D Land, go watch my separate video on it. Overall, I will say it is one of my all-time favorite Mario games. I think it's one of the most creative and fun and high effort Mario games. Surprisingly, very surprisingly, I was very surprised to find that was the case. But yeah, 3D World. Overall, well, I wholeheartedly admit it is a technically better game. I do. But did I have nearly as much fun with it? No. And I don't know if that's because of the novelty of 3D Land was worn off, but it is like honestly, it's not as similar to 3D Land as you would think. There were a lot of like fun and creative levels, but like I don't know, maybe it's because I was like playing it on a Switch on the Switch handheld, and it was originally intended to be like a full big screen console game on the Wii U. Maybe that was part of it, but overall, it just like visually everything in 3D Land felt much more filled out, stylized, wise, like almost like closer to the screen, more filled out, felt more like a 3D Mario game. I think that's what I'm like getting to here. Well, 3D World definitely felt more like it was 3D and it had the same like 3D three dimensional like style as 3D Land, but it definitely felt more like I was playing a 2D, like straight up 2D Mario game, which honestly I'm not as big of a fan of as the 3D games. Like the levels, that's it. I'm figuring it out as I talk. The levels in 3D Land felt more like levels you would find in like a 64 or a Galaxy. You know, they felt more like that style of getting through them. While I would say the levels in 3D World felt more like levels you would go through in like a 2D Mario game, like a new Super Mario Bros. So to say. And sure, there was a lot of creativity. Like I really like the magical like circus style levels in particular. Those ones really stuck with me and resonated with me. But for the most part, there were like a lot of levels in 3D Land that just like stick in my head, you know, and I remember them and the feelings they gave me and the vibes they elicited. For example, like I remember there was like one where you're on this like pretty much on this elevator for a lot of the level, and things are coming at you, and you have to like sort of like avoid figure out how to deal with each thing that comes your way, you know, as you're on this level, which is a very creative, unique as you're on this elevator, which is a very unique and creative concept in my opinion. Another level that comes to mind is there's one where you have to do these like very daring like jumps, like large jumps that make you very queasy and almost like they go against like what you would typically imagine you'd have to do in a 2D, 2.5D, 3D platformer. So like creates this like weird gut wrenching feeling. Essentially, the thing with 3D Land is that everyone it was like an exercise essentially for the developers to sort of create unique and creative levels. It was a level pack, but it was probably the best level pack you could possibly get, you know? Well, I think in 3D World there wasn't quite the level of like, oh, each level was designed with intricacy and care. There was like, sort of an overworld map, and every level, like, and levels in the world kind of had like a theming. It was much more stylized like a new Super Mario Bros. Game, as opposed to its 3D Land predecessor. So I think comparing them is almost a little weird, even though they're technically a direct sequel. Yeah, so like, I think that's the thing. It's like there wasn't that level of like, oh, these were developers like getting their creative juices flowing to create fun individual levels. It was more like, oh, let's just throw out a decent cohesive package. And it was a good game, and I would say it's probably technically a better game. But while 3D Land, I could see myself coming back to and playing every couple of years and getting like surprised by the levels and the level of creativity in each of them. 3D World, I don't see myself ever really coming back to, probably. I just think in terms of Mario games that I want to replay, it's definitely not on the list. It's overall, but like what I'm trying to say essentially, from a technical like gameplay standpoint, it's probably the better game. But I just didn't nearly have as much fun with it, and didn't like really find it as creatively engaging as 3D Land. So overall, 3D Land is my favorite of those two. Now we get into Bowser's Fury. Now that that's all said and done, I fucking adored Bowser's Fury to the point where I finished it and I had like, I think 50 cat shines. First of all, just keep them stars. They don't need to come up with a whole new star system each time. But yeah, like I had like 50 cat shines, and I was like, oh, I could just say I'm done here and stop. But I I was like, no, I want to keep playing this. This is very fun. I don't I didn't stop. I could have just stopped and had the talking point for the video and been done. But like, this is so fun. And I played it to 100% completion. I got every single thing you could get, in the game. And it's short. It's I think I played for like 2 hours a night for a couple of nights or something. So probably like 6 hours or something, somewhere between 6 and 10 hours probably total. And yeah, it was so fucking fun. I don't know what else to say. Like there were some shines that felt like more of a chore than others, and it does this thing that a lot of Mario games do, where the reward isn't necessarily commensurate for the task that you completed. Where some cat shines are incredibly easy to get and take like 30 seconds of effort, versus some that take like 10-15 minutes of effort, and that does bother me sometimes. I feel like there should be a way to resolve that will be double shines for harder tasks. But then again, developers aren't going to know which tasks are easier and harder for a given player. And I think that does differ between players. So I will concede on that front, for sure. But yeah, it's like the way it works, in which it's an open world where you have pretty much access to the majority of the map at the get-go. There's little phases that you unlock toward the beginning, but you unlock pretty much all of the areas early on. And you just have this wide open world map that you could just explore and traverse. And in the beginning, before it really gets to like the last like 10, 20 or so shines, and you're sort of hunting, okay, where do I find these things? It just feels like a sense of exploration that I love in games, where it's just like you just wander around and say, oh, what's this weird structure? Oh, I can do a little thing here. Or, oh, I can explore this. Oh, these blocks are unique. I wonder what they do. Oh, you learn later that Bowser, when he goes into his like Fury mode, can destroy those blocks accidentally, and you can find things inside. So it's like all these things that are just based on exploration and pure sense of wonder. And I feel like that's something that's like been missing from Mario games. Like Odyssey had some of that. I will say, like, Odyssey was like a good, like, had a good sense of that. But like, really, since like Sunshine and Galaxy, maybe more so Sunshine, I haven't really felt that feel. This is probably, like, honestly the closest a Mario game has felt to Sunshine since then. But yeah, this complete sense of like exploratory freedom is just so fun, and something I haven't really been seen done that way in a Mario game. And I loved it. I wanted more. Like I was sad when I finished the game. I'm like, oh, that's all there is to do. It's done. There's nothing else. I was so sad, and a lot of people rightfully are saying this is a tech. This is obviously an experimentation and a tech demo for whatever the next like AAA Mario game that they're going to do. And if they create like a full fledged, like full like very long Mario experience with this same kind of gameplay and engine, it would be unstoppable. Like it would be the best Mario game. And I did have some critiques. Like I said, I had the critiques with the reward not necessarily being commensurate to like the task itself, but yeah, also like there was some repetitiveness where it's like, oh, you have to find these cats' babies, and you do that like 4 or 5 times. There's, like some repetitiveness to the missions like that you come across, and like the ones that obviously like are lazy are like the Bowser destroying the blocks and everything. But I also felt like sometimes it was very difficult to find. Like there's certain tasks that like you could complete like 90% of the tasks with whatever you have based like on you, because it does this great thing where you could store up to 5 of every item at a given time, and you could swap between those items, which is incredible. Should be in every Mario game. But yeah, it does this thing sometimes. Like so, essentially, you can complete majority of tasks with whatever you have. Some might be harder than others, depending on what you have. But there's some tasks that are specific to essentially one type of item where it's like, oh, you really like can't do this without the cat suit, or oh, you really can't do this without the Tanuki suit, things like that. And those are less common, but like I found that sometimes it was hard to find the item when I needed it if I didn't have a back stock. Like sometimes I had a back stock and it was no problem and I could just pull it out, but like sometimes I'm like, oh, I need a cat suit for this. I'll spend 10 minutes trying to find a cat suit when I'll be doing so the Galveston will be flooded with cat suits, So maybe that's just a lack of like familiarity and like comfort with the map just yet, but like I found that was kind of an issue sometimes that I encountered. But overall, it's pretty much perfect. Like it was like a short but sweet masterpiece, and like I would say overall, amongst this unofficial trilogy of sorts, I would say that 3D Land is probably my favorite, just because of the creativity behind it and the developers really like exercising their creative juices when it came to designing each and every level. The one that really excited me the most and gave me so much optimism for the future of Mario games was Bowser's Fury. And if they don't revert to, I mean, Wonder kind of was a step back in my opinion. Didn't like Wonder that much, but like if they don't revert and like step back, if they do something like Bowser's Fury on a bigger scale, they could have by far the best Mario game, and it would be so much fun. It's probably not coming until the Switch 2, I would imagine, but like, yeah, all's to say, adored 3D Land, adored Bowser's Fury. 3D World was pretty good. Pretty good. I didn't love it nearly as much as the other two, but it was pretty solid. So yeah, I think that about wraps up my thoughts on the three on this little like unofficial trilogy of sorts. Let me know in the comments below which one was your favorite. What did you like versus dislike about each? I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. Yeah, that about wraps it up. Thanks for watching.